Outer Orange.
Привет! So the ban list has recently been announced, and then with the announcement, actually as of this weekend, it'll officially be intact. But guess what? We actually have a BSF, multiple BSF, first ever Houston BSF that will have the ban list already active. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about V Premium and the tier list and sort of how the ban list is going to affect pretty much the new meta that's coming up. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here we have the tier list. So we have, you know, our clans, and it's gonna take me like 5 hours to figure out which one's which, but here we have the clans. And we're gonna go pretty much from S to D. Apparently we're starting with Angel Feather, I guess, because these are probably in alphabetical order. But let's go get started. Angel Feather is definitely somewhere probably around here. There actually have been results because people have been playing Malekith, so I can't just sit here and just throw it in C tier or D tier where it probably belongs. But we're gonna put it in B tier because there's been a lot of people have been competing with Malekith. There's been some weird stuff going on with the results and sort of competition on the V side of things. So to be honest, to me, it's a little hard to gauge exactly where Angel Feather belongs. Like, I truly believe it's probably here. There has been results. It's kind of hard to put it there. I might move it. We'll keep it there for now, and we'll see if it adjusts. Next, we have Aquaforce. Pretty sure this is Aquaforce. Yes, that has to be Aquaforce. Force is 100% an S tier clan right now. And the reason being is that the new promo that came out made Thavas instantly skyrocket to one of the best decks, along with obviously the ban list being active and Maidens being hit. Definitely made this deck just way more potent. It was already doing really well even without the promo, but now with the promo added, and which just recently came out, this deck is definitely an S tier deck now. It has a way better turn 2 to turn 3 turns, and then you could just go to Genovius and end games really fast because the promo restands. It doesn't really matter what Vanguard it is. It's very generic. So Bermuda is 100% joining the slot of S tier decks because it has two very good decks right now. Melody got unbanned. That deck is actually insane right now because nothing can contest it like it used to. The only thing that can contest the deck is itself. So Melody in the past was strong, but because there were other decks like Prism, Gurgit was way more like was less restricted, so Gurgit was also really strong. And I'm missing a deck. I think Luard was also like at its peak before, you know, some restrictions happened. So Luard's back at peak, but you know, at the time it was also there. There was also Angel Feather with Hamiel. That was like another deck that just straight up would burn it out before it had the chance to really rise. And there's just so many other decks that were like stronger than Melody. That is just Melody was kind of getting a little overshadowed. There's also Duke. There was just a lot. Like Percival is still a thing. Like there's just a lot more going on. But as we got a lot of stuff restricted and bringing back Melody, it actually makes Melody an extremely strong competitor now. This is a really good deck. It does have a breaking thing, kind of like Poets, but it doesn't mean the deck doesn't perform, especially in best of 3 formats that we have happening currently. This deck is really going to shine, in my opinion. I actually think it's stronger than Ange, though Ange is definitely the more consistent variant, but because of the kind of V meta that we're currently in, I think Melody is insanely good right now. And by the way, along with that, Ange is also still an insanely strong deck, insanely good pick. Obviously, there's a lot of results on it, and there will continue to be results because the deck is just consistent, it's strong, it does its best. I think it struggles into the meta decks, which is Luard and Thavas right now. However, and maybe Melody too, honestly. But however, the deck is still really strong into everything else. Like, it really doesn't care about its matchup. It kind of cares a little about Himiko, but overall, the deck just kind of does this thing and just steamrolls you down. Next, we have DI. DI, I think, is actually still like low-key A tier. It did just get, also got a promo. A lot of promos have been coming out and it's making some decks stronger. So it got a promo recently that actually really helps it cycle through its deck a little faster, whether you go Amon or Shaharat. I think both routes are good. I don't think it's the strongest deck on the planet. I think the Garshik's really nice. However, the deck does brick, and when it bricks, it kind of struggles, and doesn't matter what variant you're building, any variant you build, you can brick and kind of just get stuck a little bit. And I think that's the biggest problem that the clan has. If it didn't have like that bricking thing, I think it'd easily be an S tier deck, but the gacha just can be really rough sometimes, and the gacha just can go against you. So I think it's a good solid A tier. I think it's still very viable. I think you definitely could take it. You'll definitely have results, and if your opponent doesn't play around Hope on Damp, then they're going to get blown away. It does have a potential, it has a late game win con as long as you don't soul charge all of them, but overall just a pretty good spot. Most of the decks in it are just good. DP, I think DP kind of falls more into the B, if this is DP. Yeah, that should be DP. I think DP falls more under the B category. It's not bad by any means. Like, Zeal's pretty good. Some of the new stuff's really good. The Astro Poets variant that you can go is actually really good. I forget his name. It's an Enigma. If you go the Enigma route, it's very explosive. You just need to like get there and hope you don't die because you're running like a ton of grade 3s and all this kind of stuff. You have like ways to get shield, but it's just not fast enough sometimes. But this deck can have like multiple Vanguard swings, kind of similar to Kagero, and it can kind of go a little crazy on you. So definitely a deck to be like cautious of, but nothing to like be like, okay, well, I'll compete. You can compete with it, but when you low roll, you'll roll pretty hard. Gear Chronicle, I think, fell really hard because Entrahana got completely banned. There were other decks that could have used Entrahana to stay in like the A tier slot, but I think because Entrahana just straight up got like nuked, I actually think Gear Chronicle is now here. Jet was using Entrahana, which actually made the deck like decent, and then on top of that, there's also MFD that was using Entrahana, which was also decent. But I actually think without MFD having access to Entrahana, the MFD went down with it. You can still build in a way where the deck will function. I just think the Entrahana into Gear Cat strategy made your back row, made your back row bigger, which means when you go into MFD to Jet, you just had a stronger turn. However, I think MFD is actually the strongest deck right now in this clan, and I think that deck can make it go to A tier sometimes, but then it's all on that high roll. And right now there's like 2 other high roll decks that are better, which is Melody and definitely DI. So because those decks are just the better high roll decks, I think this falls into B tier. All right, next we have Gold Paladin. Now Gold Paladin is like low-key A tier, almost just barely touching that S slot. It's not quite there because Gurgit's the only thing that's carrying it pretty much. Gurgit is insanely good still. It's stupid that it's still this good. It has to high roll still, so that's why it's kind of like not like, it's obviously not S tier for that very reason. However, they just also got a new promo that lets you pretty much have a mini Gurgit effect on rear guard or guard circle, and you pretty much can guard through that card now. And because of that, this deck still has a really high survivability, even like in the mid to late game. Not the best deck to take anymore, nowhere near as powerful without Percival, but it's actually still kicking even through everything that's been thrown at it. The clan still kicks. It's kind of wild to me, but well, you do need to high roll a little bit, but it still performs, so it's still doing pretty well. Oh, I just realized that's not even Gold Paladin. This is Gold Paladin. So that's Gold Paladin. Well, woohoo, I know my clan symbols. This is Genesis, actually. So Genesis is probably also in an A tier slot area, probably worser than maybe like that, probably more like that. So Himeko is really strong. It can damage deny pretty well, and then just kind of go explosive. Astropodes is still really good. Fenrir is still good. Has some funny little things it can do to kind of annoy you. And I overall think just that just because of the other decks, like mainly Steam Main's going down, I think this deck kind of went up a little bit. I think it was more like the B tier area aside from Poets. I think Poets still performs because they can still just one-shot you out of the game. Himeko is up and down hills. Sometimes it's really strong, sometimes it's really weak. It kind of just depends on how well they open versus how many PGs you open. Granblue. Granblue is a really interesting one. There's 2 decks right now that in my eyes are pretty strong, and that's Rose and Beatrice. I actually think people are hard sleeping on Beatrice right now. She had like a couple results here and there, but now with those Steam Main's gone, and then on top of that, having Mick the Ghosty come into V, I actually think Ghosties is insanely powerful right now, but I also think Night Rose isn't too far behind. However, it's one of those decks where like if your opponent knows how to play into it, you're kind of at mercy. But I think it's actually here. I think it's very strong. I think Ghosties is insanely slept on right now. I think I've been talking to a lot of people. Actually, a lot of people have been coming to me about Ghosty list because nobody really knows how to build this. And Ghosties is actually pretty open to building it a certain ways. Kind of just depends on what you're trying to go for, consistency or high roll. But long story short, whatever route you go, if you're playing with the Ghosty, your deck is just going to instantly accelerate. If you go first, you can actually just finish games like in a second. Like the deck is just so insanely strong. Doesn't need that many counterballs to play on. Like at least your first ride up, you can do so much for so little. And on top of that, because of Mick the Ghosty, the deck just doesn't care about defenses anymore. If you're playing a defense, you just cry a little bit, but now it just does its thing. The only downside to Ghosties is the consistency of what it does. It is not the most consistent deck. It just depends. It depends on how you open, depends on how you build it, but still it has a little bit of a consistency issue. That's the only reason. I think it still depends on Night Rose or Beatrice. Like I think Night Rose is still more consistent. However, Ghosties has a way stronger turn 3 now. Just everything about it is stronger in almost every way. And as if another card, and now especially you can actually run Heal Guardians again, which actually I think makes the deck even stronger. Before you'd have to run the four mix or maybe one, and then I'm sorry, you have to run 4 Ricks and maybe like 1 Heal Guardian. It's like do like a 3-1 split. Now you can actually run 1 Rick the Ghosty, run 3 Heal Guardians, or you can run out 4 Heal Guardians if you really want to go down that route. You totally can, and it's perfectly fine because the deck has Mick now, so you don't need to rely on that heal guard, that heal 0 anymore, which is actually a really big impact. It means that you can survive a lot easier. The deck really struggles against Excel decks. Granblue just in general struggles about it. So now that you have access to the G guard, not to G guards, the heal guards again, I think Ghosties went up because of that as well. So overall, very, very, very powerful. Next we have, God, what is this one? Great Nature. I think Great Nature is like here somewhere, probably. Actually, no, Great Nature is like here-ish to be precise. Out of all the Excel decks, I think Thavas and get are stronger. However, it's like the third, fourth best Excel deck still, so it's still really good. Leopold's really good. Hamskis is actually really good too. I think people underestimate Hamskis. They can be very strong. Kagero is like here-ish, maybe here. It's okay. It's just okay right now. It's not bad by any means. Honestly, everything it's been getting has been pretty good. I just think it's still a little behind. It has its moments where it just kind of goes crazy and pops off, but it's not like the most craziest thing on the planet. It just depends. It literally just depends on your drive checks for the most of the decks in Kagero, but it's not bad. You could definitely take it. It probably succeeds somewhere. I think Link Joker falls into this category as well. There's nothing in here that's like super insane. However, you can use this as a counter pick deck into some of the better decks here. So I think locking opponent out of their front row is actually pretty rough into all three of these. I think the only one that doesn't care is Thalas, or Aquaforce, I should say. So Aquaforce doesn't really care about this, but Gurga doesn't really care. The Excel decks don't care, but the Forest decks and Granblue definitely cares. Next is Mega Colony. I believe that's what this is. I think Mega Colony is kind of like here-ish. Low key, some of the new cards they've gotten are actually pretty annoying, but you really need to open pretty well to have success with it. Cocktail's still pretty good. You can play Ghidorah now. Kind of just depends again on the matchup you face. It's kind of like also like a semi counter pick. It actually played into Maidens decently well, just because it kept retiring your back row essentially. Even if it didn't, they did a lot of stuff, so it's just kind of awkward. Murakumo is definitely probably here or even here right now. They are about to get a new promo, and I actually don't know if it's out yet. It might be out. If it's out, maybe they're here. They got a new promo that's pretty decent, and honestly, I haven't tested. It's possible that the promo is good enough to where it might push the whole clan higher. You guys can tell me below otherwise, and while you're at it, subscribe if you're enjoying the content so far. But you can let me know below how you feel about Murakumo, because I'm not 100% where it's at. I know it hasn't been a good spot in V for a while, and I don't know if one promo can carry it through. Murakami is probably here. It's probably the lowest of the A tier decks, probably getting closer to B tier, but it's still a good Excel contender. I think it's better than DI probably, actually. Might be better than Great Nature. I'm not too sure, but it's overall just a good choice. It's mainly Vanquisher. You just kind of take Vanquisher and go crazy and just perform really well. And just the bind is still not annoying. The drawing a lot of cards is still annoying. Still has kind of like a semi-win con with all of its multi-attacking. So overall, just still a good deck. You just don't have an early game, and you have to like live for the late game pretty much. Nectar also got a bunch of promos, but I'm not 100% sure what this clan is doing anymore in V. I'm just gonna throw it as C tier. It might even be D tier, to be honest, but I could be wrong. I don't play these two clans too much, and I don't play into them a lot, and honestly, I know what the cards do, but I don't know how impactful it is, so I'm just gonna throw it there. I think Nova Grappler definitely falls into similar categories with this. Nova Grappler is just it's an awkward spot as well. It might be getting better, like I said, with some of the new stuff, but I think right now it's definitely more of a C tier clan. You definitely shouldn't be taking it probably. Now, Nubatama got an insanely good promo, but I don't think it's out yet. I don't think it's out yet, so I think Nubatama falls probably here. I think it's better of these three down here. It has Daihozan that's actually pretty nuts and all this other stuff. If your opponent knows how to play around it, it's really not that terrible. But if they don't know how to play around it, the deck perform. Oracle Think Tank is it has the guard restrict and everything. It's probably here, maybe even a little bit higher. So the Battle Sisters isn't too bad. I don't think anything else is really worth playing in this clan, so I'm just gonna throw it up here in B. I think B is a pretty good spot. I think Pale Moon kind of falls under a similar category. Pale Moon has Nightmare Dolls, which is okay, has Lukir, which is not very good, has the bunnies, which are okay. The new stuff is not very good either. I think the only thing that's carrying it right now is actually Dolls. This is Royal Paladin, right? I'm about to double check this. Yeah, this is Royal Paladin. So Royal Paladin is definitely like up here, probably up here. I think the Jewel Knights is really strong. I think most of the decks are really good. MLB is really good. They're all just good decks. I think we could probably put it here. They're all just the Jewel Knights is definitely what's carrying it the most, and then the other decks are just kind of like side decks that are also not doing bad, but they're just like worser versions of Jewel Knights pretty much. So Shadow Paladin. Shadow Paladin is definitely up here with the big dogs. Definitely one of the strongest decks, if not the strongest deck right now in the format. Lure is just insane. It bricks, yeah, but it's still really good. It still does what it wants. The Force Marker Acceleration is really good. If you open the nut with Eldana, it just gets even stronger. You have to play very carefully into this matchup. And you have to be playing a really good deck into this matchup to even like have any success. And I think if you're not playing any good deck, you're gonna struggle. Spikes is probably somewhere here. It's okay. Some of the stuff it does is pretty good. Rising Nova still could be very good overall, but I don't know how to put it. It's like one of those decks where when it sees everything, it performs extremely well, but when it sees nothing, it performs really badly, and the consistency within the deck isn't very good. So it's kind of just one of those weird decks. And I actually think it's strong even until like some of the decks up here, but it really needs to open like really well to actually perform. But that's just that's just from the people that play around me that I see. I don't know too much else, but yeah, I think this is a good spot. It might be like low here somewhere, but we're just gonna throw it in here. I really want to throw this in here. I don't think this belongs in B tier, but that's just me. And then last but not least, we have what is this? Tachi's? This is Tachi's. I have no idea. I'm just gonna throw it in there. And poor Neonectar. I would throw it in here. I don't know what's going on with Tachi. Some say there's some good stuff going on. I have no clue. You guys can tell me. I can't see this deck shining. I can't see this coin shining too well. I don't think anything's come out that has come out is enough to make this deck outperform all of this stuff up here. But hey, who knows? Maybe there's something I don't know. So I'll just leave it there. I'm gonna move this here. I'm sorry. I just think this just makes more sense to me. I don't know how else to put it. Like I know Malkuth has been topping, but there's so much that needs to go right for this deck to perform well. I think this slot up here can kind of maneuver a little bit, except this one. I think Granblue is like just touching the best decks. I think it's actually like in between S and A and not necessarily S. It's just not a bad choice to take. But I think the meta is really like this. Like this is the meta. These are the best 3 clans with the best 3 decks in them, and then this like just barely touches it. I might actually just put it in here because I think it I think it belongs here more than it belongs in with the top 3. I think the top 3 decks right now is definitely Luard, Thavas, and either Ange or Melody, depending on what you're more comfortable with. I think these are definitely the strongest decks in the format and the decks that you should definitely be looking out for. Decks that you should definitely be testing into and figuring out how to play around them, because they are definitely going to be showing results for the next upcoming months until something changes. These 3 decks will be performing for a while. So just to give you guys kind of like a little breakdown, anything in S tier is pretty much going to be guaranteed top at some point. There's no way there's not going to be tops for them unless there's like a 4-man event or something. I don't know, something stupid or crazy happens, which is possible. It could happen. We've seen weirder stuff happen, but I think these are definitely the top dogs right here. These are the strongest right now. And as promos come out, it might adjust a little bit, so just FYI. Like the only reason Thavas is even up here is because of the promos, so things might move around a little bit as the months go, but for the most part this is pretty accurate. These decks right here have all the capabilities of topping. They just are slightly worse by just like a smidge. It's either a consistency issue or a win con issue or just whatever it is. They just have a small, or they are slower by a turn, whatever it is. That's where these decks fall into. And then everything from B and down are decks that we probably won't see results on, but there might be a splatter here and there. And then on top of that, maybe there'll be some kind of weird stuff that happens. I think I might have put bugs a little too high, but I actually think the deck's actually pretty good. So yeah, maybe one more shift. I think Kagura is definitely stronger. I think Kagura is the better deck, and we could probably move this up a notch. There we go. That looks more perfect. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts below. All that kind of fun stuff, you know, the usual. And good luck in Houston, and I'll be there as well. So if you guys don't know, I'll also be at Houston, so you guys can check me out there. Other than that, guys, if you guys liked anything here, don't forget to like and subscribe below. And then as always, if you need cards, shop @thecards.shop. OuterOrange to get your little discount and all that kind of fun stuff. Other than that, guys, peace out. Das Vidania. See you guys in a future video. Bye!